Ooh, it says there's a error occurring with LinkedIn. Wait a minute and then try again. I'm gonna try again. And we're live. We're live on LinkedIn and YouTube. So yeah, we're back and we have a lovely panel discussion focused on how to be pragmatic, how to be tactical, scrappy, whatever other adjective you want to throw in there. And we have a panel full of people that have um, reinvented themselves several times throughout their careers, and that's part of the reason why I, wanted to bring you all together and listen to your stories and hear your advice. I think this is an excellent, very constructive panel of practitioners. So perhaps we can do a little bit of a self introduction in case people don't know you. We'll go in order of alphabetical, descending alphabetical order. We'll start with Anne. Anne, would you like to say a little bit about who you are, what you do, and some of the changes you've made?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Anne Cantera. It's been a long road to be where I am now, but the last 5 years are probably the most critical to talk about. I actually started learning AI and working in AI 6 months pre-Chat GPT. I did a deep dive into NLU, NLP, conversation design. Shout out to Rupa Chaturvedi. I always have to thank her because it was her post that got me down the path. And that has gone from enterprise voice agents, chatbots, to digital employees, agentic work, all the things that everybody's reading about. I'm always the first to nose dive in and learn what I can and pass on that education. And it just sort of hit me that I didn't want to build things for enterprise clients that would put thousands of people out of work. So 4 months ago, I left my high paying corporate job to start a consultancy teaching AI and integrating AI solutions for small, underrepresented businesses in the New York area. And that's what I'm doing now. And honestly, couldn't be happier.
Thank you, Anne. Peter, would you like to go next?
Sure. So I'm Peter March. I'm an interaction designer and service designer here in New York City. And I really started leaning into AI like in earnest sort of last year, working with two and part of the collective. I spent the last 10 years or so in the healthcare space doing UX for an advertising agency that's part of the Interpublic group. And as some of you may know, healthcare is very regimented, very locked down. So like, we were lucky if we could get them approved a chatbot. Certainly nothing agentic. Like, no. Like, if we give the wrong prescription, people die. That's a hard no for us. So next slide, please. So it's only after I left IPG that I sort of had the freedom to sort of like try the things and go other places. And so my sort of pivot is, AI is opening up a lot of different opportunities for people, and it can be embedded in more and more places and connect with other systems. And so it's solving for the ecosystem, right? Not just the website or the app. And sort of that's where my focus is now. And so I'm sort of pivoting into that world.
Thank you, Peter. Sue?
Yeah, I feel like I found some new friends, and I definitely want to talk with you. I know Peter, and like your work in AI, but also your passion for small businesses. I really love that. Thank you for doing that. So yeah, my name is Tudo, and I am a founder, product manager, designer. I'm many things these days. Educator. I founded the Taylor Root Collective about 8 years ago, and have the privilege of having Peter as one of my teammates. We focus on the intersection of AI and humanity, and we work a lot with startups, specifically in the impact spaces, health tech included, sustainability, education, etc., to help them build AI native products and experiences. And personally, I have been a designer for a long time, but my role has never really fit in a box. for half of my career. I was a creative technologist, then turned management consultant, turns founders, turns whatever. And so now I'm working with a few startups as their product and design lead, and I would love to talk about that. But in pertaining to research and design and hands-on learning, at our collective, we have been doing a lot of workshops, either with different communities like Swamped or others on Mavens and otherwise, and we truly believe in hands-on learning. So we just hit, I think, 1,000 people coming through our workshops, and it's usually just 60 minutes, 90 minutes, but you learn something out of that session, and I think that is that is a good thing for people who are either afraid to dive in or don't know where to start or just want to learn something new. And so I'm excited to be sharing my learnings and to learn from you all today.
Thank you, Sue. And with that, let's kick off the idea of learning by doing. I mean, how else are you supposed to be competent in the functional skill set other than to do the thing? Anyone want to take that first nibble?
I can start. So obviously YouTube is a thing, and there's lots of AI content out there now, and you can attend workshops and meetups and stuff like that. So I always recommend that. So like, definitely go out and start interacting with people who are also more or less where you are in the space, right? So there's little meetup groups for like, I'm new to AI, and like, what's AI about, right? So definitely try and do that and sort of like form your own little posse of people who are learning. I find that's always helpful if you can sort of like keep each other honest and like, I'm trying this, this is a cool thing I found, which is part of what the Taylor Loop Collective does, is sort of we have a Slack channel where we can sort of share our experiences as we go along, right? And sort of like come along. What's the phrase, like, you can go faster alone, but you can go farther together, or whatever that is. So that's kind of what we're doing. So definitely recommend that. But also just like try using it in a project, right? So I've been using AI to work on user flows, personas, UX person here, not a developer, right? So like, how would working with Claude or ChatGPT help me do persona development faster? How would it help me find user interview insights faster? Or how would it help me sort of like walk through what the high level takeaways there of a sort of a workshop session that I did, those kinds of stuff. And then sort of like seeing how it works and learning how to sort of like focus your prompts and sort of ask good follow-up questions and being clear and give it references and examples so it doesn't go off the rails somewhere. So that's sort of been my learning by doing, but then also trying to be ready for those sort of bigger, more complicated projects where we are, as Anne was saying, like, how do we, as a designer or UX person here, keep the human in the loop, right? We probably will be that person, right? That will be the one, because everyone else will be sort of razzle-dazzle with other things or like the business metrics or whatever. But we're like, yeah, but the human, it has to make sense for the human. They have to feel part of this experience. And of course, trust is going to be a big factor. They have to trust what's being told to them, that, we're giving them a good service and not trying to steal their data or whatever. And then when can we automate it with AI, and when should we sort of pause and say like, okay, we found these things, but now the AI system steps back and lets the human use their judgment and discernment to come up with the right solution, right? So some of the work I've been doing is with very high-powered, well-paid professionals who really, really know a lot of stuff, right? And so our challenge is like, how do we sort of help augment them, right? So they can still keep using their big brain because they're being paid the big bucks to use their big brain. So how do we let them just really focus on doing the smarty stuff, and some of the mundane timesheet, TPS report kind of nonsense, make that go away, right? So they can just be their best self. Like, that's my challenge.
Thank you, Peter. When is it appropriate to learn by doing with things that you fabricate for yourself versus a stepping stone to get to the real work? As you said, Peter, you were describing some situations where you have a reliance on other people or existing systems where you have to be a little bit more careful. And Sue, anything you want to add to that?
I think I mentioned this to you earlier, that a few years back, like, personal projects on your portfolio were frowned upon. Experimentation was and now it's like the expectation is you need to have something on your portfolio that shows you use AI in your workflow and shows that you can build AI products. And not hardly anybody's getting those opportunities at work. So to create something for the sake of creation and experimentation and putting that on your portfolio is no longer frowned upon. And I mean, I couldn't be happier about that, because I live in that what's next space. So for me, that's exciting, but also I think it's daunting to people who are just kind of getting started and just learning the workflows and just starting. It's very overwhelming, and I have so much care and feeling for the community who is struggling with, I just started here and now they expect this too, and it's a lot. But being able to experiment is truly a gift, and being part of a time where it's okay is very freeing, compared to, oh, we only want to see enterprise builds on your portfolio and it needs to be X, Y, and Z. Now you have a lot more kind of leeway to enjoy yourself. So go enjoy yourself while you're learning.
Yeah, I think to add on to that, I think it can be very overwhelming, especially for people who are looking for work and for people who are new to the field. I'm talking about more. I'm not saying young people, but entry level people, right? Because we can shift careers at any point in time, right? We should be able to do that. It's overwhelming to ask, which project do I take on? What kind of skill should I learn, and how do I even start, right? And I think the way that I have started, and maybe I'm a little bit cray, sorry, weird term. I'm a little bit an odd one out, because I would try a new tool, for example, Gamma, the presentation AI, and I would try to record myself 10 minutes in and post that on YouTube and see what other people would feedback on. And it's a little bit of being a little bit more comfortable building in public, because that's essentially what personal projects are. Like it's a little messy, and it's a little bit without the credibility of a big name or a big company. But that kind of experiment, and to your point, is a first stepping stone to getting bigger projects and to have employment, for example. I would also so that's what I would suggest, is that maybe just try one tool and record yourself and find a way to share that somehow, and build that content for yourself. The second thing that I've seen people do really successfully in terms of getting started had been either joining a free workshop. There's a zillion of them on Maven, or Tech Ladies is one that we shout out to Tech Ladies that we partner with, that deliver very low cost or like free workshop, or join a hackathon, a very small hackathon. You might feel daunting, like I don't have the skill to join a hackathon. You'll be teamed with other people who may have the skills, and through the doing of the project, you'll get something for your portfolio, right? And so why not just go? As my therapist say, just do and see is what's going to happen. There you go.
I like this emergence of do not self-select yourself out of trying something new. You really don't know what's going to stick until you kind of drill something in a couple of times and evaluate it in different contexts and environments. So I'm right there with you guys. In terms of learning by doing, how do you prioritize what to learn and do? I'll put one example there. I'm a little cray myself. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing so many events and these things. But when I wanted experience, I didn't want to be in a position where I would have to battle my way through a bunch of job interviews. Instead, I went to my local friends and family network and I told everybody I'm solving problems. What kind of problems you got? Can I help you out with anything in particular? And that sort of just opened the gate for me to do a bunch of free stuff that gave me the ability to just try things. So, is there any sort of angle or direction around that you can speak on that has helped you make those pivots yourself?
I think volunteering gets a bad rap. If it's a startup expecting you to volunteer so they can eventually make a profit, that's one thing. But if you're going to volunteer somewhere and get a portfolio piece or something you can actually put on your resume, do it. It's cheaper than paying for school and you'll get a completely different experience than a class would anyway. But I did the same thing as you. I started freelancing chatbots way back in the day and just, you know, hitting up anybody who would listen, like, I want to build you a free chatbot. And I had takers and that's how I got started. But if you know yourself, which I think is to self-learn, you really have to know yourself and where your comfort levels are and what you're willing to push and what you're not. If you want to do that and you're not comfortable, have somebody hustle the work for you and do the work. If you're not comfortable with the outreach and you're an introvert and you don't want to talk to people, get somebody to do that piece of it for you so you can at least do the work. I've come up with so many people who have said, I'm not comfortable going out there and rustling up the work. Well, find somebody who is, so you could still do the work and get to where you're trying to go. I know for people who are very introverted, that's very hard to do. And I think there is a workaround. You can, if you're scrappy, you can always figure it out. But it also, I believe, if it makes you uncomfortable, you should be doing it.
Yeah, just a quick aside from the last thing we talked about. One of the things we always mention during our Taylor U collective events is to remind people that nobody knows what they're doing yet. Like, don't be fooled by the slick PowerPoint decks. Like, this whole AI thing is way new. It changes every 3 seconds. Like, if someone tells you they figured it out, they're lying. They just are. And so, like, it's going to be okay. I mean, you know, if you're, you know, Generation X or, you know, early Y, like, the internet, right? That people, like, kids in the garage building websites sooner than IBM had the website up. Like, it's just, we're back to that, really. And so you can start, and it's okay if you fail in public. And remember also that social media, lots of people are failing in public on all kinds of things. Like, people have, like, I'm learning to bake channel, or I'm learning to jump rope, or whatever. Like, just slide right in. I'm learning to AI. I'm learning to make chatbots. And then in terms of, like, how do you decide what to focus on? So one of my passions is immersive experiences, which, you know, a bit of theater, a bit of branding, a bit of marketing, all mixed up together. So how is AI going to work with that, right? So if I'm interested in that, my walk backwards from X is that. So this is AI can do ticketing, AI can do tracking of sensors, AI can sort of, like, send real feedback to the stage manager of what's happening in the experience, if it's sort of like something like Sleep No More or the Squid Game build in Times Square, right? And so maybe you can redirect how the room is working, or change the lighting, or, you know, radio the docents to sort of do something different with their tour groups based on the data you're getting in real time. Or afterwards, like if you're at a festival, right, AI can be saying, okay, you know, there are 5 concert stages. I'm detecting that everyone went to this stage and not this stage. So guess what your exit music should be? That musician's music, right? Or, like, swap out these t-shirts for these t-shirts because everyone seems to like this group over here. So if you want to double your sales, do a hot swap and start selling this person's merch, and, you know, box up this person's merch, right? That's sort of like real-time feedback. So you can sort of, like, augmenting a live experience as you go. Like, how does that work? Who do you need for that? You know, what sort of prep time do you need? You know, how do you sort of, like, plan that out? Is it user stories? Is it journeys? Is it some other device? So that's the kind of stuff that I feel I need to start getting up to speed, so that if I'm going to be the guy, right, and the boy, like, can I help for a small fee? Like, I'll have to be able to get them to do that and figure out the best practices for that, so I can teach them to do it as part of me being part of the team for a turn.
And
I'm going to back on that a little. Sorry, just real quick.
go ahead.
I believe there are experts, and I think it's the people who've been working in machine learning for 20 years have to cringe every time they hear someone say there are no AI experts. I just had to throw that in there. Respect to those people.
Yeah. Yeah.
To be
very
clear,
key.
I'm not talking about Stanford. I'm talking about your run-of-the-mill consultant, right? Who claims that they know everything, like, and they hung up their shingle 6 months ago. Like,
Yeah.
that's who I'm talking about. Like, yes,
Yeah.
obviously Stanford has been doing stuff for years, but it's, your run-of-the-mill business people who are claiming to have all the answers. They don't have all the answers yet. It keeps changing too quickly. Yeah.
And I think that there's definitely still rooms for expertise and strong ICs. That's something that we haven't talked about in terms of like how do you prioritize. I still think there's a space for a designer to be very good at designing and researcher to really own research. But the I guess theme that I'm seeing across working on the ground and with different startups is that roles are really blurring, and engineers and designers are now allowed, quote unquote, to write product requirement stock. They are PM and engineer are now allowed. Again, that word is really I choose that word carefully because. But those people are allowed to design and prototype. As a matter of fact, they should be doing that in shaping what it is that we're building. I choose that word because I think there's this almost like a democratization of what we're allowed to think, who's allowed to think about what. And while expertise is still the valuable human expertise and judgment and taste are still valuable in any context, I think the ability to kind of blend and weave the different roles together are becoming more prevalent. What that means, I think, in terms of skills development and choosing where to go is to try new things and really go beyond your little, not little, but like you're kind of siloed of what used to be the expertise. I just want to, Peter, I hope you don't mind me saying this, but Peter has a passion for physical experience and like designing space. And so he went out and he volunteered for a production company. And then he would go and like try all of these different things and then get in there and say, I have an opinion about that, which Peter has a lot of opinions about. And I love that. So I will say, how Hakeem, to that question of how do you prioritize? You want projects out of this. You want to build your skills, but it matters that you work on something that you care about or that is matter to you. So, if you can choose an industry or something that you'll be like, I will be very happy thinking about that thing. I bet on Taproot or on TechFleet, some of these kind of nonprofit matching platform, there will be a nonprofit out there that are in that space. And you can go and say, hey, I'll work for free for 2 weeks, 4 weeks. I'll solve a problem for you. What you got, So I think it matters to choose what you're passionate about and go after that specific problem, because it will drive you when time. It has certainly driven me when time is hard.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's quite a bit to chew on with everything that we've said here on the table right now.
Yeah.
Presently, I'm on the job market, and under typical conditions, people say go apply for a job, tailor your resume, prep your portfolio. That's fine. That's all good, well-intentioned advice, and that served people for a long time. I, however, really like to study the playing field of what is expected out of a candidate, and then I build projects and volunteer and do things that will fortify the narrative and my skills that I am a fit for those things. So I want to go into manufacturing. I'm going to simulate manufacturing environments. I'm going to look at problem sets that deal with manufacturing. And then once I do some of those things, I'll go and volunteer, and then I'll apply for organizations that have problem sets that mirror what I've already solved. Are there any kind of industry specific tactics or advice that you'd like to share? Uh, you guys have respective areas of expertise. You've seen different industry specific problem sets. Love to hear some of that.
I have never gotten a job without knowing someone.
Likewise, which goes for all industries.
See, and I'm the opposite. I've only gotten jobs when I've been recruited.
But you didn't do a blind submit, though.
Hmm?
You didn't do a blind application submit. Someone reached out to you. So
Yes.
It's the
Yeah.
right first.
Yeah, and
So-
they can, and well, conversation design is having a moment though. The conversation designers are not struggling to find work. Recruiters are struggling to find conversation designers.
That's
And-
not surprising. Yeah.
But if that, the cure to everything we're talking about is more jobs, right? If there were more jobs than there were applicants, a lot of what we've been talking about for the past, I don't even know, 2 years wouldn't have to have been discussed. And I think a lot of that comes down to corporate shame, right? It used to be they would be shamed for layoffs, like they did something wrong, like they're failing as a company. That doesn't happen anymore. It's just like, oh, Zuckerberg's at it again. So I just think we need like a systemic reworking of our values, and people need to not be quiet when they see these things happening. There should be jobs in abundance right now, and there aren't, and it's a trickle down corporate leadership problem.
I would
Yeah.
also say reach out to people that are in that field, right? So like if you're interested in design and service design, connect with people who are willing to give you 50 minutes of their time, and you can sort of like talk at them about what you're doing. And that may be another good filter, based on what you were saying, right? It's like, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and this. Then you sort of tell them that story and see what resonates. Are you using the wrong words, right? And then you can sort of refine from there, because they work there, right? So they can like, what does this mean? You're like, oh, I guess I'm using the wrong industry term or something like that. So I found that to be helpful as well. Sorry, go ahead.
No, don't be sorry. Great point. Yeah, I won't venture into corporate responsibilities. I have a lot of opinions about that, but I think and you, we're friends. Yeah, so, or we
I
can
know you
be
have
friends.
thoughts on that too.
I can tell. I would also challenge the notion of what is a career these days. I think that a lot of us, myself included, have thought of a career as a full-time with benefit, and that is super valid. I think especially with a family like I do have, without health insurance, we are screwed, right? And it's a really failing of the system to not have that safety net, first of all. But if the option is on the table where it can be a portfolio career, meaning is fractional, is project-based, is having an Etsy store on the side, when time is dipping and, flowing, I think a lot of people are resorting to expanding the number of things that are bringing in income, because maybe the result of this kind of crappy job market, but also maybe that is kind of the way that the work culture or the ways of working are moving, right? With AI adoption, Gen AI, and the ability to use agent to multiply productivity, like that is more possible. I don't have the answer. I'm still trying to figure it out, but I honestly spent 6 months trying to find a full-time job, and didn't go well. More So because maybe I come from a more non-traditional background, but also doing a lot of consulting before, and also I am attracted to innovation and startup culture and like just moving fast and making impact. And so I think right now fractional is working for me, and I'll keep working until it's not, and then I'll figure out what's next. But I would suggest that that is a viable path if you all were to, you all as in the listeners, were considering a portfolio career.
I want to piggyback on what Peter was saying about knowing someone in the industry. Sue, you also mentioned this. A big aspect of what I do with the community building stuff is to be in the service of others. How do I provide somebody visibility? How do I provide somebody with a benefit? Because I might not need something now, but maybe down the line, something will just come back in a positive sense. I when I apply for work myself, I do not have a bachelor's. I've always had a non-traditional appetite for risk and learning and doing things. Usually, I get called upon for people within my network to satisfy some need or job, or they know that I can handle a certain amount of chaos. But otherwise, it's I've kind of just cultivated a certain reputation, but a reputation needs to be public or known by other people for it to be useful. Volunteering has opened up doors to convert into jobs as well. Um, yeah, I'm curious. Moving into this space of AI, what has opened up doors for you to have paid work or projects, or just open up your network so that you can have richer interaction with other people that are doing similar things?
You touched on something that lights me on fire is the bachelor's right now. Okay, in the last 4 years, I've had to have taught myself at least a PhD's levels worth of work. I write curriculum, right? Like Voice of AI, that is literally the design roadmap to the next sets of job skills you need. But the number one thing, and it's such a jerky thing to say, I have rare skills that are in high demand. The conversation design stuff is in high demand. There aren't a lot of us. There are jobs, and it's just math. Just like if the math was different on applicants versus jobs, right? It's math. Do you have skills that are in high demand? Are there not a lot of people who have those skills? I have no struggles with getting conversation design work. UX and UI, there's so many people who do that. There's so many people who have pivoted. There's so many people who've been laid off from the companies that recruiters chase, that if you're not part of that top echelon of people who've been laid off from Fang, Mang, whatever it is now, we've done designathons where we show how a recruiter looks for people, and they literally have a field where they can put in Meta, Google, Facebook, Apple, and they search them first. That hurts, and it's not right, but it's the way it is. So if the math doesn't work out where there's an abundance of jobs, I don't have the answer to what people do except for get skills that are in high demand, and not a lot of people have them.
Yeah.
Sorry to say.
Good point.
But this also gets back to go outside and make connections with the people in the real world, right? Because that's another way to sort of get over that hurdle is like, I'm talking to you. You know, I'm a cool person. I have there's something about me you like. Bring me in, because I can't compete with the Meta search. I never worked at Meta or Google for that matter. But I can tell a story in person, right? And I can sort of work the room, and that may be a way in for some people who don't have the classical training or the high-powered Stanford degree and the worked for Apple and Google. Food for thought.
Yeah. I also think it's a bit weird because I'm a founder and I founded 3 companies and now I'm working a lot in startups. And so because that is somewhat of a passion of mine, I've started to just dig deeper the more time I spend in something. So I agree that if voice design is in demand someone is interested in that, they should definitely go after it. But I guess this is a question for all of us, which is, hmm, I wouldn't want to spend time on voice design if that's not something that I think I would enjoy. So, how do we even discover what it is that we might enjoy? You know, like how do people try different aspect of the, let's say, research and design process and figure out what disciplines or what segment of that they would really excel in because they just cannot stop watching those 3 hours YouTube videos and learning new skills about that topic. I don't know, what do you both do or you three do to discover new things?
I have an answer. Want me to go? So this is why I live in New York City, honestly, as opposed to rural Missouri, is that because I live in New York City, I can attend meetups from all over every single topic. I can go to museums, I can go to exhibits, I can go to festivals, I can go to, pick up workshops, whatever, just to see, right? So like I didn't know why I'm interested in service design in the beginning. I was like, something about like I maybe like the designing of the whole process part, but I didn't really have words for it. And it's only because I kept going to different meetups covering different topics, from development to other things, right? Just sort of like, oh, like I really like that talk. This one, I if I don't hear this topic again, I'm fine. That's good. And then something else, and it's only by sort of like throwing myself out there to sort of see what was going on and like how did I feel, like did my id jump up and down with joy when this happened or not, right? Where did I fall asleep of boredom, right? And it's sort of like winnowing down, like, okay, so it's probably not development, it's probably not sales, it's helping but not teaching necessarily. Okay, it's service design and immersive experiences. There you go, right? But it's only by sort of forcing myself to go out there, you know, say no to the drinking invitation with your buddies. I have this workshop to attend or this something else to do, that I sort of like made myself understand what it was I actually wanted. And then from there, I'm like, okay, it's these 5 things. Now I can focus and do the training and the workshops or whatever and try and make a go of it. At least that's what worked for me.
I think too, if you're not in New York City and you don't have that opportunity, keeping the grifters and the influencers out of your LinkedIn feed and keeping the experts in is a great way to understand what is coming next. I'm sorry, you're all laughing, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
You need to de-grift your feed, unfollow the influencers and find the experts. And when they post, I just did a post last Thursday honoring some experts because they need to be honored because they don't get exposure. But honestly, if it wasn't for people like that in my feed, I would never have joined the Agentics Foundation. The Agentics Foundation, they're crumbs. The level of mastery, the brilliance, the people in that group, their crumbs have kept me ahead of 90%. Right. So finding a room, and I say this with all the love in my heart. I love being in that room and feeling like the dumbest one there. Find a room where you feel like the dummy in the room and you are going to grow and you're going to learn and you're going to expand. And I know they would all get on me for saying that about myself, but I say it in jest. Finding that those people that you can learn from, if you don't have the out of the house opportunities, that's one way to do it. Find those experts.
Yeah, I found an experience design podcast that I love, and I just write down every name they drop, right? Every author they drop, and I go from there. So that's sort of a version of what you're talking about. Like,
find those.
Okay, so I found like 20 new people just doing that, right? I found whole organization I didn't even know existed in the experience design space by treating every podcast as an assignment, not just something I'm doing while I'm dusting the house.
I love that. That's smart.
Mm-hmm.
I like to set constraints, set timers, set like amount of time to explore a certain thing. So I give myself permission to pick and choose a variety of different non-related things. I've played with. I'll give myself 2 hours to go crazy on graphic design and grid work and how do you organize a three-dimensional space to make full use of modular components and how do I bridge that into like user experience or service design or something else. Like I'm always plugging into different areas of knowledge and figuring out how to cross pollinate them, whether it's in private moments or whether it's through volunteer work or whether it's through a self-fabricated thing like this event series and the previous sister event series. I just fabricated it. You know, I kept talking to people saying it sucks we don't have work. It sucks these people are not being able to find a way to develop their career in the next phase. So let's create an environment that will attract people like that so we can share and connect and get to find ways that are pragmatic in doing that thing. So I'm always trying to find the minimum effective dose of stimulus, of exposure, of connections, what is required to get yourself into that future world. But yeah, that's my strategy. So I guess just to take the example of going into manufacturing, I'm gonna go do my due diligence on job descriptions and skill sets and software, and I'm gonna learn about that, and then I'm gonna go look at people in my network, and I'm gonna say, hey, can I talk to you about manufacturing for 20 minutes? What's out there? What opportunities can you recommend I pursue, or is there anyone you think I should talk to about that? It's the only, you know, it's the quickest way to get into the network where that opportunity lies.
Yeah, and I've been part of communities who, which enable that search to be less lonely. So Never Search Alone is one of those incredibly giving volunteer base. So I think yeah, and you all feel free to join our Slack channel. I think we have like a small but about 150 people who are actually building and experimenting with AI. So find those kind of communities where at least you feel a little less lonely in your pursuit and have motivation and people to come back to. I think that's been useful for me. And I'm actually Googling Agentic Foundation right now. I think that's really cool.
Agentics.org.
Yeah, it's really great.
Yeah.
Just again, have a support network. Yeah, that is 100%. That is something everyone should strive for. It gets lonely, it gets dispiriting. There's a lot of no's. You submit and get nothing. 100 resumes. Like we've all heard the horror stories, and like we're only human. That weighs on you, right? So if you have people who you feel you're all in the same boat, that can really help you keep the flame alive.
I think it's helpful to time box your day too if you're job hunting. So you never feel like you're failing or flailing or floating or just aren't organized. Stick to it for 2 weeks or a week and then readjust. But for me, that one really, even as a founder, because I chase squirrels and I go down rabbit holes. So if it's not rabbit hole or squirrel time, I get right back to, trying to find clients, trying to do, like it's good for your mental health to have some kind of structure. So if it's like, 20 minutes of LinkedIn, an hour of learning, an hour of building, it really helps keep the depression away to some degree for some people.
Yeah. My calendar is like a rainbow.
Yeah. Keep feeling like you're being useful to people and yourself. Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, humans want to feel useful. Humans want to feel like they're part of something. And certainly in America, like a job usually is the replacement for that. So if you don't have that, you better rebuild that some other way as quickly as possible. You're just going to doom spiral.
and there are no shortage of groups, right?
No,
Especially
or
women in
volunteering.
AI, women in XAI, women do AI,
In your
women are
grandma's
AI.
basement.
Yeah. So there, join those groups, join 20 groups, and find one you love and stick with it. Yeah.
Just to play the devil's advocate, and I know we're at time. When would you say you've done enough learning and you're ready to start earning?
Oh, I know when my moment was. The day I met you, Joaquin, I went to that Agentics conference. It was at Agentics, a generative UI, and Chief AI Officer conference. And I sat there all day and I didn't learn anything new. And I left feeling like a champion of the world, like I won the Super Bowl. I gave myself some time to just relax after that. But I think that moment is going to look different for everybody. You might just need to conquer one thing, and then maybe the next week another. But that in 4 years I have not felt that, and that day I did, and it was great.
Yeah, you're truly an expert then.
No, I don't know about that, but I am definitely
For at least
obsessed
2
with it.
months. How about that?
I believe. Yeah. Peter, do you want to go first?
So
On that?
I felt I was done. The last UX conference I went right before AI really started taking off. I mean, the whole game has changed now, but like right before, like it was like being whispered in the hallways, but it really wasn't on the agenda. And I was like you, I'm like, okay, I've seen this. I've seen that there's this, wireframe techniques. So it just became more like networking and looking for new opportunities and building my Rolodex. But like the sessions themselves, like, right. So yeah, I've been there. Now of course it's all crazy difference. But I'm happy to say, certainly from a UX perspective, like a lot of the fundamentals are still the thing, right? Who's the target? What do they want? What do they like? Go outside and watch them in the real world. Don't assume that what they tell you in a focus group is real. Look for patterns over time. All the classics still apply. So it's not like the last decade was a waste of time. It's just sort of a new lens and then a broader perspective. That's what the new thing is. But yeah, so for UX, I don't think we can stop yet. There's so much stuff that's in flux. Like, I don't think anyone's considered rest on our laurels for a while. We'll see how it goes, but like our whole thing has been shifted and torn apart. So like, I don't think my segment can rest quite yet. Maybe others, but not us. Not for a while.
Mm-mm.
I've never felt like I'm there. I've always felt like I'm slightly behind because there's so much to try and learn. It's an honest answer. I think I'm truly learning by doing because of the work that I'm doing in the startup land. What I'm keenly interested in these days, I agree with Peter that the fundamentals and the expertise are there, and as you develop new expertise in voice AI and conversational AI, those are like you're writing the playbook of what best practice are at this moment in time. But I do feel like the ground is shifting underneath me a lot every day, and I'm quite excited by that. It's a weird feeling, but I am keenly interested in redesigning the way teams work and collaborate and my role with it and how I can flex, not being only a designer, but a product manager and a founder and I have never felt like I belong because I've never fit neatly in a box. And this moment in time, while scary, is also exciting to me. Sounds cliche, but it's also exciting to me to be able to do many different things and learn different things and defining and writing books around new ways of working. And so I do feel like I'm never done. I've never felt like I got there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I started taking deeper. I started accumulating and visualizing my experiences in canvases like Figma to show myself through evidence what I've accomplished. That sort of helped me like reduce the amount of aggressiveness on the gas pedal. Now I know I can relate and I can expand my knowledge base and my experiences and my skill sets. But I know relative to position in the job market, there's a definite gap to fill with action that is only a chunk of time. Like I think if you're there and you care and you give a damn and you show up and you do a good job and organize and communicate, everything else is a learning experience of what you don't know, and that's never going to stop, right? That's the person hiding around the corner ready to say gotcha. Well,
Not as scary, but yeah.
not in a malicious way, like gotcha, jump scare, you know.
Yeah.
We're like, surprise!
Ashton Kutcher around the corner saying you just got pranked. That kind of energy.
Yeah. Ooh, and just share something. Ah.
Well, tomorrow on Designathon at noon, we have Josh Clark and Veronica Kindred. Yeah, if you guys aren't paying attention to the adaptive UI stuff.
Did you go to the book launch, by the way?
I didn't, but I got an early copy and I felt like the queen sent me her crown. It was, I read it twice. I read it twice. It's marked up. But I think if you're wondering about future skills, this is something to pay attention to.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
He and his daughter are good people, and I saw an early presentation, like pre-launch of the book. And they sort of like working through the concepts. So yeah, big fan of the two of them, and yeah, read the book. It'll be your usual. I think they even presented at South by this year as part of the book tour. Yeah. So good people to follow.
That's awesome.
They're also big on human in the loop as well. So if you're a pro-human in the loop,
they're super balanced, and they have a very balanced and realistic approach. And just think for people who are just trying to find like what's next, I think that that's something to pay attention to if you're working in design.
That's really cool. Thank you for sharing.
Sure. Yeah. I'm so excited.
All right. Well, thank you all for your time and valuable experience and expertise. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back in about an hour with another presentation. Oh, sorry. That's 2 hours from now. Yeah. And thank you very much for tuning in. Hope this was useful.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Nice seeing you all. Yep. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.